Good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome you to our Health and Social Services Advisory Committee for Monday, January the 9th. My name is Heidi Van Dyke. For those of you who don't know me, I am the Acting General Manager for Health and Social Services, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Advisory Committee, and the first Advisory Committee for this term. So thank you all as well for volunteering to be a part of this very important committee. We will start with introductions. I will start the beginning facilitation of the meeting, and then once the committee selects a chair and a vice chair, then I will turn the balance of the meeting over to the chair. So we'll start with introductions, and maybe we can start with our advisory committee members, and then we will start on my farthest left and come across the back to introduce staff. So if we could start with Councillor Van Den Driesche, and we'll just go around the circle ending with Councillor Metcalf.
Thank you, Heidi. I'm Linda Van Den Driesche. I'm Councillor for Ward 2 for Norfolk. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Shelley Ann Bentley, Mayor of Haldeman County.
Chris Van Passen, Ward 4, Councillor for Norfolk County.
I'm Alan Duffy, Ward 5, Councillor here in Norfolk County, which is the town of Simcoe.
John Metcalf, Haldeman County, Ward 2.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Rice. I'm the Acting Director for Social Services and Housing. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sayed Shah, and I'm the Acting Director for Public Health.
Morning, everyone. Michael Vanswell. I am the Acting Supervisor in Financial Planning and Reporting.
Good morning. I'm Chris Everett. I'm the Acting Manager of Strategic Financial Planning and Reporting.
Good morning. I'm Lori Friesen, Manager of Legal and Support Services for Haldeman County and the Staff Liaison for the Advisory Committee.
Christina Lounsbury, Administrative Assistant for the Haldeman Norfolk Health and Social Services.
Thank you, everyone. And I note that we have Councillor Natalie Stam is not here yet from Haldeman County, and Dr. Matt Strauss, our Acting Medical Officer of Health, I believe, is on his way. So he will be joining us. I anticipate he will be joining us. Just a couple of housekeeping items I should have noted before we started, but I see everyone was able to figure out how to use the microphone, so that's great. I will just note for anyone who is not familiar with council chambers that the microphones, we can only use them one at a time. So if you are asking a question or making a statement, you need to turn your microphone off when you're finished so that the next speaker can turn their microphone on. And also for anyone who is visiting us today, the washrooms are just in the hallway behind council chambers. Are there any disclosures of, yes, Councillor Van Passen?
A little technicality. Mr. Metcalf, could you turn your nameplate around and have a look at the spelling of your names? That class. Yeah, maybe staff want to get that adjusted.
Thank you. Our apologies, Councillor Metcalf. We will get that corrected for the next advisory meeting. Thank you, Councillor Van Passen, for noting that. Do we have any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Being none, are there any additions to the agenda? None. Moving to matters to be considered, our first item on the agenda is the election of chair and vice chair. In accordance with our terms of reference, chair is one of our members from Haldeman County, and our vice chair is one of our members from Norfolk. So we will start with the election of chair. I'll ask for volunteers or nominations, a seconder, and then we will move to a vote and then move to the position of vice chair. So for the position of chair, do we have any volunteers or nominations for the position of chair?
I'll do
Councilor
that.
Vanden Driesche?
I would like to nominate the mayor of Haldeman to represent us as the chair in this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Vanden Driesche has nominated Mayor Bentley. Do you have a seconder for that nomination?
I will second that nomination.
Thank you, Councilor Metcalf. Councilor Metcalf has seconded that. Mayor Bentley, do you accept the nomination? I accept the nomination. Thank you to my nominator. Thank you. Do we have any other nominations for the position of chair? Calling twice. Final call. Okay, all those in favor of Mayor Bentley being the chair? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Chair Bentley, I can finish with the vice chair and then turn it over to you if that's okay. Okay, I'll open nominations for the position of vice chair. Do we have any volunteers or nominations? Councilor Vanden Driesche? Do we have a seconder for Councilor Duffy has seconded the nomination of Councilor Vanden Driesche for vice chair? Any other nominations? Calling twice. Final call. Councilor Vanden Driesche, you're standing for that nomination. Thank you. Moving to the vote, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Councilor Vanden Driesche is the vice chair. So, Mayor Bentley, I will turn it over to you now as chair. I think we're on to, thank you very much, Scott. We're on to terms of reference for. Thank you. Through the chair to members of committee, at the first meeting of advisory committee in each term, we reviewed the terms of reference. So the terms of reference, I have updated the dates, and I also made some updates. There were specifically to note that the subcommittees are subcommittees of the Board of Health. Because those, the health unit is the only place where those subcommittees of finance and audit, human resources, quality and risk management are required under legislation. And then I have just noted throughout that this is a committee that makes recommendations to council as the service manager, municipal services manager, or the Board of Health. I also want to just note a couple of other comments that came out of the staff review from both counties. Under meetings, we just want to note that there is still, sorry, I'm going to ask Lori to, can you walk us through? Sorry. I'm going to ask Lori to walk us through her comments, please.
So just under meetings, so under the first paragraph, I just wanted to make a recommendation that we have some commentary on there regarding that members of the advisory should provide advance notification of their attendance or not attendance, just to ensure that we have quorum or we know if we don't have quorum ahead of time rather than waiting until when we get here. So that was the first one. And the other addition I'd ask for is remote attendance still permitted, or does it have to be a person? So that was just my two comments I had in that particular section. You want to keep going? And then just under section 9, under minutes, under the second bulleted item, I just suggested replacing the word officer with the word chair. And the record of attendance, I also suggested we should also include members of the staff who attend as a representative, but not necessarily those who are presenting a report, just so we have full attendance details.
So, Madam Chair, we would be happy to open the floor to any questions or any other suggested amendments to the terms of reference. And then we will take all of those back and incorporate them into the final terms of reference that we will circulate with the minutes from today's meeting. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I like the idea of the advance notice, so you make sure you do have quorum. Otherwise, like for myself, I drive a distance, and I'm sure from Haldeman, you're driving a distance. So at the end of the day, I think that would be important. As far as virtual, I think that's the way of the times, and I think we should continue to keep that because it's quite useful. Just because people sometimes in a snowstorm can't make it out that long distance. So, and by virtue of it, even staff being able to participate would be important that it's virtual. Those are my 2 comments, and I hope they will stay. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anyone else?
Madam Chair, just if Heidi, for a couple of minutes, could you sort of give us a status update of the process that the project is going through on the rejigging of the health units overall?
So Madam Chair, through you to Councillor Van Passen and members of the committee, the last update that we had was that discussions on any sort of restructuring or realignment were on pause until after the respiratory virus season was over, and then the province was looking to re-engage. We have no other updates on at that time. If there were to be changes to the governance structure, so all of the reports for the Haldeman Norfolk Health Unit, Haldeman Norfolk Social Services, Housing, and Homelessness Prevention all come through Advisory Committee. So certainly we will keep Advisory Committee updated of any changes in provincial direction on any of those programs and departments. And if there need to be changes to the terms of reference of the Advisory Committee to reflect those provincial changes, then we'll certainly bring this forward throughout the term. Okay, sorry, Councillor Duffy. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, I would just make a comment as well to staff that I think it is 2023, almost at 2022 there, to be honest, and using virtual technology is an absolute must, and I think it's come so far. We've been able to do so much, certainly in the last 3 years, that it should remain a part of all of our committees moving forward, and specifically this.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Did we vote on this matter on the suggestions or? Madam Chair, I think it would be helpful to staff and for the minutes if we had a motion to approve the terms of reference as amended. Can we get a motion on the minutes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I'd like to make a motion that we adjust or make it the amendment concerning the quorum as well as the virtual attendance. Thank you.
Oh. All in favor? Pass, carried. Thank you. Now, if we can go to the Health and Social Services budget review. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to turn it over to Michael Vansickle, who will walk us through his report and the preliminary budget.
Thank you, Heidi. Through the chair to committee members. So the report and budget being presented today is for the shared services between Haldeman and Norfolk counties for social services, housing, and the health unit. Each department's budget has been prepared with status quo service changes, with the exception of the new Children's Services Program for Canada-wide early learning childcare and a new initiative for the Housing Corporation's Regeneration Master Plan. The proposed net levy requirement for shared services is $10,187,500, which is an increase of $967,300 or 10.5%. The main levy driver for this increase is salaries and benefits, which represent close to 60% of the increase amount. Following that, approximately 35% is related to housing transfers through either reduced federal funding or transfer requests from providers. Note that 125,000 of the housing increase is for the Regeneration Master Plan initiative, which is related to Norfolk County only. Within Appendix A, tables have been included to outline the expected cost share with upper levels of government against what the current cost share is. In addition, the municipal cost share year-over-year changes have been included for reference. Haldeman and Norfolk staff would like to bring to committee's attention that many programs have or are anticipated to have status quo funding from 2022 to 2023. While funding is greatly appreciated, without an annual increase, the burden shifts to the municipal levy and local taxpayer. Many programs have a determined cost share, and most of these programs are not receiving sufficient funds to remain at that level of cost share. This report has been prepared exclusively for the advisory committee, with subsequent reports being prepared and presented to Norfolk County as the consolidated municipal service manager for social services and housing and the Board of Health for the Haldeman Norfolk Health Unit. The report is being recommended to be received for information and endorsed to move forward to the Board of Health and Municipal Service Manager. And with that, Heidi, Stephanie Syed, and myself are available to answer any questions from committee. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Is there any questions on the floor? Oh, that's okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. So ultimately, what you're telling me on this budget, page 3, is that you're telling me it's status quo with the natural increases that are there, as well as the 125 for the new initiative, and that is it?
That's correct. Plus the new council approved initiative for the child care program.
Yeah, that I understood. And that's good. That's good thing. So I'm not upset. Well, it sounds like it's pretty clear cut. Thank you.
Or any other questions? Seeing none, I get a seconder. Motion. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, I would move that the recommendations contained in the report CS 22-211 move forward.
Can I get a seconder, please? Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Sorry, next on the agenda is any presentations? Presentations by anybody? There is none. We adopt the advisory committee meeting minutes from Health and Social Services Advisory Committee, September 26, 2022. We have a seconder. Don, thank you. All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Next is an update on the reports.
So thank you, Madam Chair. I can report to advisory committee that all reports have been approved by Norfolk as presented to the advisory committee to date. So we are all caught up with reports. And then the reports that are on the, for committee's information, the reports that are on the agenda today will go to, the budget will go to Norfolk County on the 18th and 19th with the committee's recommendation to adopt. And the other reports will go to Norfolk County Advisory Committee or the Board of Health, whichever is applicable, in February with the committee's recommendations. And the minutes from today's advisory committee will go to the February Norfolk Counseling Committee as to be adopted for information. Also, just to confirm for advisory committee that should advisory committee pass a recommendation that is different than the recommendation that is in the staff report, as per the terms of reference, it is the advisory committee recommendation that goes to Norfolk for consideration. So that is my update on reports, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We have a motion on the floor for that, person.
That's okay. We don't need one. We're okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda is consent items.
And I can confirm we have no consent items today.
Thank you. Next is staff reports. So we have 9.1 general manager staff reports.
So thank you, Madam Chair. We can move to 9.2.1, which is public health. And I will ask Mr. Shaw to introduce Ms. Atkinson, who is going to present the report today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Ms. Alexis Atkinson, who is going to present rabies prevention program report to the advisory committee. Over to you, Alexis. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Through the chair to the members of the Board of Health, I will be presenting the Rabies Prevention Program 2021-2022, HSS 22-032, and that it be received as information and that the Board of Health supports the Haldeman Norfolk Health Unit's Rabies Prevention Program activities, which include rabies response investigations and risk assessments, testing, surveillance, and education regarding rabies illness and prevention strategies to mitigate risks. Rabies is a preventable, fatal disease that attacks the nervous system. Due to the prognosis of nearly 100% fatality of a preventable illness from the rabies virus, Haldeman Norfolk Health Unit's public health inspectors provide 24-hour response to address potential exposures. The purpose of the Rabies Prevention Program is to investigate incidences of potential exposures and conduct risk assessments. Based upon the results of the risk assessments, management strategies for exposed individuals may be initiated. In addition to rabies response, public health inspectors address inquiries from the public and provide education as well as referrals to partner agencies. The Haldeman Norfolk Health Unit collaborates with public and agency partners to manage suspect cases as well as assist with surveillance of the virus in Ontario. Rabies illness can be prevented with treatment with post-exposure prophylaxis, PEP, when addressed within 10 days of potential exposure before symptoms occur. Rabies is transmitted through the saliva or brain nervous system tissue of an infected animal and is commonly found in raccoons, foxes, skunks, bats, cats, dogs, and cattle. Most exposures result from a bite or scratch. Rabies virus is found within the wildlife population throughout Haldeman and Norfolk counties. The health unit responds to all potential human exposures to rabies from the wild and domestic animals and follow the guidance outlined by the Ministry of Health. In 2021, a total of 436 potential rabies exposures reports were received. Follow-up investigations must be initiated within 24 hours as per ministry requirements due to the severity of the illness. Public health inspectors are available 24 hours a day to immediately respond to suspected rabies exposures with the utilization of our on-call system. The health unit works with veterinarian clinics and animal control agencies to assist with capturing animals if applicable and testing. In 2021, a total of 16 specimens were submitted for rabies testing. Of these specimens, a bat was positive for rabies. To date, in 2022, January to September 20th, there have been 27 animals submitted for testing. Of these, 3 specimens were laboratory confirmed positives, which were all bats. Of note, unlike other mammals, bats cannot be vaccinated using baits. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry distributes rabies vaccine containing bait within Haldimand, Norfolk counties to help protect local wildlife from contracting and spreading the virus. Humans are not typically exposed to the rabies virus directly through infected wildlife. Pets commonly act as a link between wildlife and humans. During investigations, if a domestic animal is involved, public health inspectors confirm vaccination status of animals and, if necessary, follow up to ensure the animal becomes up to date on vaccination, a very important health promotion and prevention activity for our program and the safety of our communities. Public education occurs through media releases and social media advertisements, as well as during investigations or responding to specific public inquiries. In conclusion, the rabies prevention program will focus on the public health services required to protect the health of the community. The key is prompt follow-up, public awareness and education with the goal of addressing risk of rabies transmission to the individual exposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your report, Alexis. Madam Chair, we can open the floor to questions. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. Thank you, Alexis, for this report. I wonder if you can just maybe comment a little bit more on the public awareness communications that takes place and really what someone should do when they are in contact or aware of a suspected animal that has this.
Absolutely. Through the chair to you. We work really on social media because that's the main source of communication these days for the general public. We also put media releases out when there is a confirmed positive case in the area. There is a duty to report from health professionals, veterinarians, police officers if there is a bite that occurs with the public. And what the public should do is anytime that they have a bite from a domestic or wild animal, they should be contacting the public health unit for follow-up for an investigation by one of our public health inspectors. They determine the risk of whether or not PEP is required. Sometimes if it's a domesticated animal that is a cat that is up to date on their rabies vaccination and they happen to bite somebody, then that's fairly low risk. But for example, an unprovoked attack by a raccoon would be something that would be high risk and that would require PEP. Of note, I should probably tell you that in 2020 we had 434 of these bite reports that were received, and in 2022 that number has gone up to 460.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. So ultimately, we were talking about there was 460 bites. But in my mind, the first steps would be medical attention. So you're off to your doctor or medical, and you say the duty to report. So at the end of the day, the doctors are going to report to the health unit, and the health unit then therefore comes back at you. Is there a specific phone number? I'm just curious if I can have that, just to, because people ask me. We are in a rural setting. I have been bit by a rat. I've had to go and get those crazy shots, and all is well. But at the end of the day, if there's a phone number that they can call, because you indicate social media, but there's a lot of people that are not on social media. So do you, when you put it out there, do you put it on the radio once in a while, a phone number or anything like that?
Yeah, through the chair to you, Madam. Absolutely. We have a phone number. It's the Haldeman Norfolk Health Unit, 519-426-6170, and the extension is 3477, and that's for the environmental health team. But yes, so it can be the public who reports a bite, but the medical practitioners or vets or police as well, for sure. So the hospital usually, or the physician's office, send us a bite report form that we have provided to all of those community partners, and then we release the post-exposure prophylaxis to the doctor to give to the patient.
That's correct. That's the process. They ended up, comes from there, it goes to there to the doctor's office. That's how it was done with myself as well. So out of 460, just curiosity question, how many were you feel were have known that they were rabies and had to have shots? I thought I heard something like burial.
Sorry, you cut out there just at the end.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just out of the number of 460, how many ended up having to take their rabies shots?
I will have to get back to you on that number, but I can absolutely get you that, not a problem, and update the committee with that.
Yeah, I am so afraid of rabies. It's unbelievable, because it is something that you could get a scratch from a wild animal and never address it, and at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do about it. I remember going to the doctor and he said, we could put you in a cage after a certain stage. And I went, no, I'll take the shots. So it's a very, very important issue.
Absolutely. And bats are very, very difficult to assess and have a completely different assessment guideline, because you may not know that you've been bitten by a bat because their bite marks are quite tiny and painless. So if there's any suspected bite from a bat at any point, like if you find a bat in your room, then we would recommend that you get post-exposure prophylaxis just in case, because it is 100% fatal after symptoms occur.
I agree. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that, Councillor Metcalf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alexis, excellent report. Is there a breakdown of these 400 plus exposures between wild and domestic creatures, or is it all lumped into one?
No, there are different, through the chair to you, Councillor, there is a breakdown, and it's in our summary report, the executive summary report for the Haldeman Norfolk Health Unit, which I can get for you shortly, but it is broken down into cats, dogs, other wildlife. A couple years ago, we had a llama. So there's definitely different animals that are broken down, and I can get that information to you and provide it along with the report after.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move the staff recommendation on page 42 of our agenda.
Thank you, Councillor. So we have a motion on the floor to the staff recommendation on page 42.
Awesome.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor. All those in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure to present this report today.
Alexis. Could we carry on with the next report? Okay. And
sorry, go ahead, Heidi. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll ask Mr. Shaw to introduce the program manager who's going to be presenting this report today.
Thank you. Through the chair to members of Advisory Committee. So my colleague, Program Manager for Professional Practice and Quality Assurance, Marcia Anamonto, will be presenting the report. Over to you, Marcia.
Good morning, everybody. Through the chair to the committee, I will present the Haldeman Norfolk Health Unit Risk Management Update Information Memo, Report HSS 23-002 to be received as information. In 2018, the Ministry of Health updated the Ontario Public Health Standards. They added risk management to the requirement for program services and accountability. This was further updated in June of 2021 to state in point 14 that the Board of Health shall provide governance direction to the administration and ensure that the Board of Health remains informed about the activities of the organization on the following, and item H was risk management. On a quarterly basis, the health unit has to submit the risk management summary as part of the activities report to the Ministry of Health. The first submission was made in 2019, just before the pandemic, and nothing more was done with this during the pandemic. The most recent submission in September of 2022 to the Ministry of Health is what has been sent to you in the appendix of this information memo. The risks identified are the greatest risks facing the Haldimand Norfolk Health Unit at the moment. We have put into place risk mitigation strategies for each of the identified risks. And we will be developing an ongoing plan and monitoring to ensure we stay on track with continuing the work to prevent the risks, to mitigate the risks. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for that report. Is there any questions? Seeing none? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I see some of these, in staffing. How are we doing in staffing?
I will pass that question over to Mr. Shaw.
So Chair, ma'am, can you please repeat your question?
Thank you, and through the chair. I'm looking at, it says here on the sheet, the inability to find qualified people to fill staffing gaps. How are we doing in that situation? Where do we stand right now? I know we're going to be making some changes, and that's going to be sad. So I'm hoping that we have qualified people to be able to step in, and how are we looking is the question.
So to the chair, I'm going to defer that question to Ms. Van Dyke.
So thank you, Madam Chair, through you to Councillor Van den Driesche and to committee. At the frontline level, as vacancies occur, we are posting them and we are recruiting for them. And we continue to see turnover, just as we have in the past. But we are being successful in our recruitments as we are posted. We have a couple of, I'm thinking of one specialized position in particular, the emergency planner that has been vacant for some time, and Mr. Shaw and I are having discussions about that position and how we might be able to increase our success of recruiting for it. At the leadership level, all of our positions are filled. I think as committee is aware, we're going to have some, I am changing positions for a brief period of time while the county is recruiting. The directors are going to be covering on a rotating basis. I'm pleased to report to the committee that we have a strong leadership team across health and social services, and I am confident in their abilities to cover during this time of transition.
If I may, changes were made in the sense of organization. Do you find that those changes are working well? I know you're kind of taking your old church and you've changed positions and things like that and people. Is it working out? Are we covered? And the next question to follow that is, because there's changes in the wind with the medical officer of health and how those are, how is that going to affect our department.
So Madam Chair, through to Councillor Vanden Drieschie, our organizational charts in social services and housing, and in the Haldeman Norfolk Health Unit, we have, work, grouped together that, I think, and in consultation with the leadership team, it makes sense for it to go together. And we have, team structures that have people working together who do similar types of work on similar public health and social services and housing issues in the community. So I think that our structure right now makes good sense and helps us to best support the community. We are always looking for opportunities to integrate our services better across public health, social services, housing, and homelessness, so that when people come into our service, they are telling their story as few times as possible to as few people as possible. And so we're always looking at ways to improve our service delivery in order to have it be as holistic and as seamless as possible. Right now, we do that through strong collaboration across teams. And when we have opportunities to do cross-functional training and have people working together across teams to support individuals, we do that a lot. I think about social services and homelessness. I think about harm reduction in public health, maternal and child health, and social services, childcare, because we recognize that when the people that we support, each individual is one individual. They're not, they don't have a public health section and a childcare section, right? So we're always looking for opportunities to adjust as needed, but I think that our team structure is working well right now. In terms of any sorts of provincial changes in direction and what might happen in any of our departments, when we have changes in provincial legislation or scope of practice, we adjust our structure accordingly, and we make sure that council and or the board, whichever is applicable, is up to date. We went through that a couple of years ago in social services when the employment services were shifted out of Ontario Works and into Employment Ontario, and we had to do a restructuring of our teams, and we went through that process, and it's working well. So in health and social services, we have experience with change in provincial direction as best as we can, and we'll keep council up to date as we know more.
Thanks, Heidi. I know you go with the flow because it has ebbs and tides there. I'm hoping that there's an open door policy. I would love to, as a counselor, go out and see the building and see where everybody works. And that gives me a better mental picture of what's going on, how I can answer the questions of the public. So I'm hoping that you have that open door policy coming. Obviously, with COVID, that wasn't a good thing, but I'm hoping soon that I can get out there. Thank you very much.
So, Madam Chair, through you to Councillor Vanden Drieschie and Advisory Committee members, all of our offices are open to members of the public in Simcoe, Dunnville, and Caledonia. And so Advisory Committee members are encouraged to stop by and say hello. We are also planning a workshop for council and advisory committee for some time in the new year, and the directors and I have talked about it. We want it to be very experiential and very hands-on. So, if we can visit emergency housing locations, for example, or if we can have one of our public health nurses and a new parent and baby give you a presentation on how they work together, those sorts of things, so that you have a little more of a hands-on experience of the types of services that we offer.
Thank you for that. Councillor Dusty?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. Thank you, Marcia, for your report. On the 2022 standard activity reports from September 30th, there are a number that are rated as high. And if I look at the key risk mitigations, it says, we need to develop plans, we need to develop this strategy, etc. I guess my question comes back to, is there a timeline for risk mitigation, and are there any legislative timelines that we need to meet in order to ensure that we have strategies in place? So it's one thing to say, we need to develop it, but in what time frame is my question.
Through Madam Chair to you, the ministry requires us to report on a quarterly basis, and I'm assuming that they will be looking at how we are moving forth with the mitigation strategies. Is there an actual timeline to complete? No, we have not received any information for an actual timeline to complete any of this. But as I said, we'll be developing the registry and then moving through and continuing the work as we go through to continually mitigate the risks.
Go ahead, Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. Then just continuing on, can you give me a sense of sort of an internal timeline that you're working to? You say there's 6 or 7 that are noted as high. We want to have that completed by the end of Q2, or what does that look like?
We are now developing our timelines with regards to this, so I will be able to report back when that's totally developed.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, can I get a motion? Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Seconder? Councillor Metcalf, thank you. All in favor? Passed. Thank you. Next would be 9.3, social service team and housing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will turn this over to Stephanie Rice, our Acting Director of Social Services and Housing, to introduce the team members that she has to present this report.
Thank you, Heidi. Through the chair to members of committee, I'm happy to introduce you to Catherine Donovan and Chris Gilbert, 2 program managers in the Ontario Works program, who will present this report for us. Chris and Katie will co-present the report because they co-lead the team that is responsible for our life stabilization services and supports to our clients, our case managers, and our community support workers. So with that, I will ask Katie and Chris to turn their cameras on and take over and present the report for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair to the members of the committee, this report is HSS 22031, the new service delivery plan for Ontario Works. In September 2020, Ontario announced a recovery and renewal plan. Included in the plan was Ontario's new vision for social assistance. 2 of the main components of the new vision included centralized intake for Ontario Works applications and employment service transformation. The ministry created and staffed the Intake and Benefits Administration Unit, known as IBAU, with plans to begin to absorb the administration components of the Ontario Works program by 2024. This created a centralized intake portal for the application and financial components for the Ontario Works program. In addition to the Employment Services Transformation, known as EST, framework was formed and prototype sites were selected. Haldimand and Norfolk Social Services Department was one of these prototypes, and Employment Services Transformation began in January of 2021. Currently, the Ontario Works case managers deliver both the financial and the stability support components of the OW program to our most vulnerable community members. Employment Services moved to Employment Ontario. Therefore, case managers have more time to focus on the life stability supports. Stability support plans revolve around services that support an individual in reaching a level of stability that allows them to be involved in their community and the ability to participate in employment services. Stability supports can be to support a client with their basic needs, such as shelter, health supports, education, and life skills, just to name a few.
Through the chair to the member of the committee, the life stability delivery model is based on developing strong relationships between case managers and clients. Making a connection with clients early will assist in better outcomes for community members in both counties. In order to achieve this, further education and training is beneficial to staff working with members of our community. Staff have been required to complete training in mental health first aid, safe talk, nonviolent crisis intervention, working minds, and person-centric strategies. This training is an Ontario Municipal Social Services Association, known as OMSA, delivered training focusing on person-centric approaches to case management. This training was customized by trainers for our offices. Staff have been provided the resources available from Ministry of Children and Community and Social Services on the technical aspects of their role. Equipping staff with the required knowledge and skill to support the members of our community is a local priority. Educating staff on how to better serve residents of Haldimand and Norfolk counties will allow for positive outcomes in employment services transformation, excuse me, and customer service for the members of our community. Investing in staff is investing in our community. Local identified gaps have allowed for investigation into training and resources for individuals who support our community members. As the province moves into the direction of local offices focusing solely on life stability supports, staff at Haldimand Norfolk Ontario Works needs to be equipped to provide the best service to the members of Haldimand and Norfolk communities. Staff are requesting council to accept the information on program changes and training for all frontline staff in Ontario Works. With that, Chris Gilbert, Stephanie Rice, and myself are open to accept any questions from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. When we're indicating staffing or request to council to accept the information and program changes and training for all front staff, what are we talking about? Is it, are you looking to be provided these new programs so that you can attend these? So that it enhances your ability to deal with the clients? Is that what I'm hearing? Or are you talking about specifically more staff, or what are we talking about here?
Through the chair to you, Councillor, I'll ask that Stephanie Rice answer that question.
Through the chair to Councillor Vandadushi. The request or the recommendation of the report is to receive what we've done and what we're doing as information. So we're not requesting any additional staffing at this time. Essentially, it's an update for the advisory members to understand some of the changes that have occurred, and the result of those changes has led us to identify gaps with some of the training that we've needed to provide for our staffing. And we were able to do the person-centric strategy training through OMSA with ministry funded dollars. So that's the other sort of piece that I wanted to draw forward. The good news is that our ministry has also identified that this has caused some further need for training and updating our staff. And so they were able to provide us with the funding to do this rather large training. It was I think a full week of mornings, the program managers and all frontline staff did the training. It was really exciting to be able to do it. So it's a good news story and more of an update for you. Does that answer your question fully, or is there anything that that I can add to help?
I guess what we would say is that once you've had the training, and I hear that you've had it, how's it working out and has it made changes?
Yeah, through the chair to you. Excellent question. We just finished the training the second week of December. Is that correct, Katie and Chris? The second week of December. And so we'll be able to track that a little bit more now that we're back into the office and working through that. So great question, and absolutely part of what we want to see. Is it enough? Do we need to look at other gaps? Has it made a difference? The feedback so far from the staff is that they really enjoyed the training and found that it was helpful. So anecdotally, through those who provide the services and supports to our clients, they felt that it answered many of the questions and filled many of the gaps that they have. I'm certain there are other things that we'll be looking to in the future. It's an evolution of change, and as we know, the evolving needs of the most vulnerable members of our community can have us switching gears and learning new things quite quickly, which we will continue to do. But we will definitely be checking in and can provide an update maybe in a couple of months' time to give you a sense of how that's gone, or if there are new things that we want to look at doing. But again, requesting the members of advisory receive it as information, as an update for you to understand some of the work that we do and some of the challenges that we're trying to address through training and other needs. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I know it's extremely challenging, especially today. So I do appreciate all the work you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Huffley?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, I'm happy to move this report forward. I would just sort of make one comment just to pick up, and I'll thank staff for their work, to pick up on what Stephanie has just said, that this, in my opinion, social services is a continuously evolving need. And it sounds to me like there were, locally identified gaps, as we say. I would just sort of reiterate that we should be continuously identifying those gaps, because I think the evolution is continuing.
Thank you through the chair to you, Councillor Duffy. Absolutely. That is an ongoing part of the work that we do. And to sort of tag on to something that Heidi said just a little bit ago about the collaboration and integration, that's one of the other ways that we're able to identify and address gaps throughout our program and through our division. So 100%. There's no ever, we've got it and we figured it out and we're done and we just keep moving forward. We have to always be on our toes and looking for changes, not just ministry changes, but changes in the community, changes in the needs in the community. One of the other things that impacts the Ontario Works recipients is that, as we're all aware, there's a housing crisis in our country, and we see that in our community. And so how we address that goes hand in hand with all of the programs that we offer throughout the division. So excellent point. Thank you for that, and 100%. And I'd like to once again acknowledge the staff and the program managers, because they're the ones that keep their eyes on things, so to speak, and help us make those changes that we need to make in the community, and also the changes that the ministry requires or requests of us from time to time, sometimes with not a lot of notice. And so kudos to the staff who do the work for us. Thank you.
Councillor, go ahead.
Madam Chair, and through you, I'm going to lay out the staff what my logic is or what the changes are and see if I'm on the right track. That the province is sort of taking over dealing with the result of a problem, and our staff are still dealing with the source of the problem to try to get people out of that little rut and out in where they don't need our help anymore. I got it right?
Through the chair to you. Yes, it sounds like you have it pretty much right. Absolutely. Regardless of the changes that happen, as you said, through the ministry, looking at taking on some of the administrative role, we're still dealing, day-to-day, face-to-face with the individuals who are needing our support. And so absolutely, I would say that we're still tasked very much so, and probably more so in the future, with that one-on-one, where people are, the things that they need, the changes that need to be made locally and individually to support people to get where they're going, and hopefully not need our supports or as much anymore in the future. That's our hope, to work ourselves out of being needed.
Any other comments? I want to make a comment on this. So I have had all this training, and it is very important to have this training going out in the field and dealing with vulnerable people. You will retain your staff more if they have this training and they feel safe going into the community. It is important that we have this service and help. We appreciate all your.
Thank you so much for that. That means a lot. Thank you.
Well, do we have a motion on the floor then? Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move forward the recommendation contained in staff report HSS 22-031.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a new service delivery plan for Ontario Works.
Madam Chair, I believe that was the.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Subcommittee reports.
We do not have any subcommittee reports today, and just to tie into the last report, I would just wanted to note for committee that from time to time, staff will bring reports to you that are for information only, as a way to share information about the services that we provide and any successes and challenges with our service delivery model. So the last report was a great example of that.
Thank you, Heidi. Next would be communications, 11.1, 2022 Alpha Orientation Manual Reports of Health.
So, Madam Chair, through you to committee, communication items 1, 2, and 3 are all information that we have received since the last advisory committee from the Provincial Association related to public health. And so we share those with you, and then they get shared with the Board of Health as well. And we will continue to do that at every meeting so that you're up to date on what's happening with our provincial associations. So I would suggest, Madam Chair, that unless there are any items that the committee would like to pull to speak to specifically, they could be received as information as one omnibus motion.
Thank you for that. Are there questions? Go ahead, Councillor.
No, not questions as much as I could, if we need a motion to recognize we've received these 11.1, 11.2, 11.3 together.
Thank you for that. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Mike. All in favor? Passed. Thank you. Do we have any other business?
So, Madam Chair, if I could start, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Matt Strauss to the committee. Dr. Strauss is our Acting Medical Officer of Health, and I will turn it over to him to make any introductory remarks that he would like for this meeting.
Hello, goodbye. Nice to meet you all. I was looking forward to meeting the new council, the new advisory committee. You will all have received that I'm planning on leaving April 1st. I gave my reflections and thoughts and gratitude about my time here in the pandemic, largely at the November Board of Health meeting. But sort of briefly reiterate those things. So proud of this community, very grateful for the opportunity. I think that what we did here had a ripple effect throughout the province in terms of what I viewed as my mission in terms of bringing common sense and traditional medical ethics back to pandemic policy. It remains the case that the pandemic is over. I feel that my mission is accomplished. And where it might have made sense a year and a half ago to commute and remote work from Kingston, now that I'm a new father, it makes no sense at all. So it's a bittersweet decision because, like I say, I'm very proud and grateful for everything we got to do here, but it is time to move on. So that said, I was excited to meet all of you because ones I haven't met anyways. I think there's a lot of important decisions facing this committee and the Board of Health going forward to do with public health restructuring and amalgamation, to do with perhaps finding a successor for me. So I want to make sure those lines of communication are open, and we all feel that we've met each other. And when I came here, I assured every member of council and every member of this committee had my phone number. And if you want to have offline discussions about either of those issues or other things going forward in the last 3 months that I'm here, then please feel free. So I'm happy. I don't have much by way of report. When I last met this body, the composition was different. There was a lot of concern about upper respiratory tract infections in children overwhelming the hospital system. Pleased to say those numbers are down province-wide. And in fact, that wave that we saw was sharper and a bit higher than a normal upper respiratory infection wave as might have been seen in 2018 or 2019. It was also earlier, so usually when you see that peak in January, we saw it peak in November, and it is on its way down. Does not mean the healthcare system is on its way up by any means. So there's a lot of healthcare system issues in this province, but those are unfortunately, or fortunately or not unfortunately, not matters for this committee or for me. In any case, so I'm. Like I say, very happy to make your acquaintance and happy to take any questions you might have about this very sparse report for the month.
Thank you. Is there any questions, comments?
I would like to offer my congratulations to the new father and the new family, and I know personal life, well, that gets in the way of a job, and appreciate the work you've done here in Holman and Norfolk, and best of luck with your wife and the new family, and moving back to me.
Anyone else? I'd like to say, a pleasure meeting you today. And I'm obviously very happy to addition to your family, but very disappointed that we're going to appreciate your hard work.
Kind of you to say thank you, and nice to meet you too.
Anybody else? No? Or then, I don't think we have anything under closed meeting sessions.
No, Madam Chair, we have nothing under closed session today.
The next meeting would be at Monday, February the 27th, 2023. And yes, I need a motion to adjourn. Oh, thank you. Seconder? I know. Got a seconder? Thank you, Councilor Metcalf. Our adjournment is at 10:37. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.